Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have a great show for you today. We have the folks from PrinterLogic on the line with us, and printing is one of those things that I don't think will ever be totally solved, or at least, well, I shouldn't say that. There's always new and better ways to solve the problem is probably the best way to say it, as with anything, right? There's always better ideas, newer ideas, different solutions, and of course, what is better and what is newer and what is different is definitely in the eye of the beholder. So that being said, today we wanted to bring on one of the most recent players in this game, a company called PrinterLogic, and they've been making a huge splash in the serverless printer, or the print serverless printer world. And their mantra is, you don't need print servers. Let's get rid of these guys and go with their solution. And, well, I'll let them explain it. So today we have three of the folks, a couple of their executives and one of their SEs. So I'll let them introduce themselves, and we'll get straight to it. Sound good, guys? So here we go. Here's my interview with the folks at PrinterLogic.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This has been a long podcast in the making. I'm quite excited to have you on the show and to learn more and share with what you guys are doing. You guys have definitely made an impact within Agile, so it's going to be quite exciting to learn more about it and share this with the audience. So thanks, guys, for taking the time to do this.
Happy to be here, Doug.
Hey, well,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So let's go. We have three of you guys. So let's go around the horn, and if you guys can answer the first question, as always, is who are you? So Eric, who are you, and what do you do over at PrinterLogic?
I'm Eric Johnson, and I am our channel systems engineer here at PrinterLogic. So what that means is I just kind of go out and evangelize about the product, work with our different partners, and try to establish those business connections there and help educate people about this product for resale and things like that, and just develop those partnerships. That's my role here.
Cool. Kyle?
Yeah, I'm Kyle Yardley. I'm our PrinterLogic's partner business development manager. I help manage our ecosystem partners such as iGel and all the needs and integrations that we do, building marketing strategies and collateral pieces and whatnot, starting podcasts together with Doug Brown. Those are some things that I work on.
Is that on your list? Is that on the job description, podcast with Doug Brown?
It is. I just threw away my Post-it note that was on my wall, so that's now completed. That's
great. I have a task in my to-do list I got to check once we're done too, which makes me happy. So
he actually has a statue of Doug Brown in his cubicle. He worships.
That's really scary. That would be really, really pathetically sad. Garrett, I take that was you. Can you tell us who you are and what do you do over at PrinterLogic?
Clearly, I'm not chief comedian, but my name is Garrett Helmer. I'm the senior vice president of channels. So I overlook the channel strategy, how we go to market through our reseller partners, but also, as Kyle mentioned, we've got a rich ecosystem of technology partners, such as iGel, that we develop either technology integrations with or go-to-market partnerships, and so that encompasses the globe. I did want to mention Eric. He introduced himself as a channel system engineer, but he actually masquerades as a channel SE. He's an English lit major. And so when he goes and speaks, to partners and customers, he's pretty impressive guy. Not to put too much pressure on you, Eric.
So do it.
Yeah, I feel like now I'm going to be expected to pontificate on English Lit, British Lit specifically. I don't, that's my specialty. So
do my emails bother you with the lack of any sort of punctuation or grammar?
I think that it's a stylistic choice, and so I actually appreciate it. I think it's kind of Faulknerian. Very cool.
Right.
Well, Doug, to play off that, so I'm wearing my IT baller, my black IT baller T-shirt with the gold IT baller on the front. But Eric, he actually authored a research paper called the IT baller uncertainty principle. Would you like to know more about that?
Yes, I would like to know more about
It's a simple premise. You don't know how much efficiency you can gain in endpoint management until you have implemented iGel into your environment. So Eric's the author of that paper if anybody wants to download it and read it.
Yeah, we could probably include references in the show notes to the paper.
Yeah.
We will definitely put that in there. That sounds very interesting. I have not seen this myself. I don't know. Are you serious about that?
I did not earn my PhD when I wrote this, so it was entirely rejected.
Okay. So we're getting ahead of ourselves. Very interesting. I did not know that about you, Eric. I have a book on grammar. Okay, so PrinterLogic. Can you tell us more about PrinterLogic? What do you guys do? Why did you found the company? What's the goal of the company? What are you trying to accomplish from very high level?
I'll take a quick stab. So Doug, we help IT professionals eliminate all of their print servers. At its very basic level, that's what we want to do, is to get rid of these arcane things that have been a challenge to IT professionals for decades that we call print servers. There's no more need for them. And we have elegant software that allows us to centrally manage direct IT printing. So Eric, how would you state it in your English Lit way?
Elegant was a good word.
I would agree with you that they're definitely we step in, we get rid of some archaic print forms for sure. Our goal is really to empower the end users with the different capabilities that we offer, things like mobile print, secure print, and we're getting rid of the servers in the process, which is what really makes us so unique as the global leader, I would say, in serverless printing. So that's kind of what we do as an organization, and we replace the print server, and then we also offer those tools that the administrator needs to really change that ecosystem that they're currently dealing with. So one of the things that I think is pretty cool is our cloud-based solution. So we can talk a little more about that, but we're doing it in a way that nobody else is really doing it, because we're pulling out the print server out of the equation and really delivering a true cloud-based solution that has all those rich features for like pull printing, driver management, mobile printing. We can do things with EMR. We can even actually manage existing server infrastructure as well. So a lot that we can do. And hopefully that was eloquent enough to live up to my lit school dropout designation that I have.
Well, it wasn't, but we'll continue to move on nonetheless.
Well, hey, I said dropout, right?
So I hear this a lot about you guys. Is that I forgot to say, you had mentioned you're wearing I'm all over you guys got me razzled, first minute. You might be wearing your IT Ballers shirt, but I'm wearing my PrinterLogic socks. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. I have not bought socks. I don't think I will buy socks again for quite some time. I have plenty of socks. In fact, my mom is actually inquired about getting some free socks, and I'm not joking about that. Okay, so on back to the serious side. So you guys have talked about it, and I hear a lot about you guys. Even on the socks, it says, eliminate print servers. What does this mean? And don't tell me you eliminate print servers, but how do you go about do that? I mean, print servers were brought there for a reason. We deploy them for a reason. How do you eliminate them? And at the same time, maybe this is the time where you actually explain the software itself. Is it software we install? You mentioned a cloud server. How does this play? if I'm a new customer, you say, okay, great, I want to get rid of my print servers. Now what's this mean? Dive deeper.
Yeah, well, I'll start at. Hang on,
go ahead.
Eric. I'll just start at a high level and then pass it over to you, and you can fill in the details. So, what does it mean, Doug, when we say eliminate print servers? And I think you have to take a step back and look at the traditional way in which print jobs are routed. They physically go through a print server, whether that's a physical server or a virtual machine. That print server is traditionally spooled the job, so it's an intermediary. And our approach since 2012 has been to say, hey, you don't need that intermediary. There's this thing that exists called direct IP printing. It's always exists, but it's been unmanaged, very manual. And our philosophy and approach since 2012 has been to centrally manage direct IP printing and remove that intermediary spooler out of the picture.
Essentially, what we're doing there is a client-based system, right? So what we have is an administrator console, and that does exist on a server, and that server can be hosted in AWS, or it could be an on-prem server. It could be a virtual machine or a physical box. We don't really care about the specifics. It's all about aligning with what the customer's goals are, whether they place on-prem or in the cloud. And then what it is in this management server is it's a console that allows you to have a view into your printers. And there's clients, just an endpoint client that actually goes to the workstation. And we support Windows, Mac, and Linux with that endpoint client. So that does exist, obviously, on the iGel OS, and obviously that's probably what we'll be talking about at some point in the future here. But basically what that allows us to do is to push configurations from an administrator console down to workstations that have that client held there. And then we receive a chain of metadata back from the client agent related to the print habits that go on, like, page counts, jobs, details like that. But it is just a web-based client that's getting configurations pushed out to it over either port 443 or over port 80. And that's how we're pushing down printers. We're pushing down profiles related to those printers so you can consistently introduce those. And we're controlling the deployment of those printers through our administrator console. So we're using things like existing Active Directory infrastructure, but without the scripting or GPOs to control that deployment of a printer to a workstation. Or we're also using things like the IP address of the endpoint, its host name, its MAC address. So we use tools like that to help us eliminate the print server, but still give you the function of what a print server was designed to do, which is help you manage your printing infrastructure. The major upside for us is that because our server is not like a print server, you don't have a dependency on our application server. So if our application server goes down, or if you lost internet connectivity or something like that, you don't have a concern in your print infrastructure with our software. You can still direct IP print. All existing configurations have already been pushed to the client agent on the workstation. So you don't have that point of failure like you would have in a print server architecture. And so we introduce this to customers and help them see value in the actual elimination of that infrastructure. So that's really what we drive at. We're not looking necessarily to produce a return on investment by saving you money on the amount of paper that you use or how much toner costs for you. That's not where we go after the value. Yeah, we can help introduce some of those things, but it's really an infrastructure play, and it makes the organization more fault tolerant and ultimately more secure. It's kind of what we do at a deeper level.
Makes sense. So basically you have a management tool that you can stick anywhere, right? This cloud piece, do you host that yourself so I'm not required to install it? Is that the difference there?
Yeah, that's correct. It's hosted in AWS.
Okay, perfect. So you have the management piece. Then I, as an admin, go in or, secretary within a corporation or what have you, right? And say, hey, this user, this device gets, the label printer, the, HP printer here and this color fancy one back there, but they don't get this other one, right? And then when that user logs on or just on the device itself are those specific printers? Is that basically how it works?
Yeah, you would define policies that deploy printers to specific users or to security groups, to organizational units, to whole IP ranges if you wanted to. So we can get as broad or specific as we need to with those rules without having to create that script or that GPO. We just simplify that process quite a bit.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. And that's done. You communicate with your client on the device, and that automatically creates those printers. Are there any, negatives to this? I mean, print servers do allow you to spool and things of that nature. Are there any drawbacks? Otherwise, it seems pretty, it's like get rid of these boxes. We save a lot of money. We have to save a headache, and we're able to print directly to the devices. Do we not need them anymore?
That's our approach, Doug, is to eliminate all print servers. And so unless you've got a point application that has to specifically run on a print server, we don't see any drawbacks to our approach. But as Eric alluded to, there are some print management applications out there that have to be tied directly to a print server, and the focus for those applications tends to be on the micromanagement of pages that people can print, etc. And while there is some ROI to managing paper reduction and having a better management of toner replacement, etc., our approach is to simplify the infrastructure, and we see a much more substantial ROI in approaching it from an infrastructure angle than from what we would call a print management angle. I like to use the phrase print infrastructure management or serverless printing infrastructure. If we approach the problem of printing from that angle, our customers see not only a quicker but a much more substantial return on the investment into our software.
Okay. And I still require the driver on the box, or how does it work with drivers?
From a driver perspective, we're approaching it as kind of you bring to the table what you have. So we're not prescribing that you convert to a single universal driver that we maintain. What we actually say is come to us with the drivers that you have. Whatever you're using in your infrastructure that's working, you can bring that to the table. We'll support any signed driver. So all we need you to do is bring the INF to the table, the INF file, and we'll be able to support profile creation for that and deployment of that driver and the management of that driver right inside of our console. So that's kind of, one of the big differentiators is that we give you the support for the printers that you've actually purchased. So if you're, going through and buying these nice new MFPs, you're actually going to be able to use the driver that's prescribed for that MFP.
You got it. Migration. So, you have companies out there that have spent, quite a bit of time and effort to putting together a printing, our architecture environment. Are you able to migrate that into your philosophy? How does that work?
Okay, so we actually have a major customer in the insurance sector that is constantly bringing on, new environments from acquisition, and they actually sought us out to help them with that migration process. There's a lot of components to that. You've got to bring in the domain. There's a lot of AD things that you've got to worry about. And one of the things that you really don't want to worry about is printing, but that tends to be a part of the infrastructure that gets to be so problematic because people do so many different things with their print infrastructure. And so what they saw with us is that they could easily migrate these existing environments. We have a couple different tools that can help you collect printers out of your existing environment and move them into our software. So that's what we're constantly doing in a proof of concept with our customers. And so it's kind of the same approach if we were going to migrate an organization into an existing print infrastructure that's using PrinterLogic, kind of the same concept. So basically what we do, we can collect queues off of the print server. We have a tool that will copy over all the details about the printers that exist on that server, and also copy over the driver and automatically apply those with the same existing settings and things inside of our administrator console. Or we have the option to do a network scan where we can search through IP address ranges and actually find those existing queues and pull them into our software that way. We can help people migrate from no-bell environments as well. We can do a server scan. So there's several different ways that we can collect that information out of an existing infrastructure. And really that's step one of a really a two-step process. Collect that information first, and then we just have to push out the client agent after that. Now, I said we support Windows, Mac, and Linux, so we do supply the MSI, the PKG, and the DEB file for those users to be able to have that administrator push out. However, they're currently pushing out like an MSI. Use that system that you're already using, and you can push out that client agent to the workstation, and it will actually go through the user's devices and printers folder. And it's basically just going to look for any matches that it sees in our administrator console from those printers that we had recently imported into Printer Installer or Printer Cloud. And it's going to automatically assume management of those queues that it sees on the end user's workstation. And it will do it silently as well. So for an administrator, this is a pretty pain-free task to get assimilated into the PrinterLogic ecosystem, whichever way they choose to do it.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. What about, so the devices, what about like Citrix?
We actually have Citrix in our Raleigh office today. Doug, a lot of our customers, going back to the comment I made earlier about approaching it from an infrastructure angle, you come from a formidable VDI background. When you introduce VDI, you solve a lot of problems within the enterprise, but you also introduce some additional complexity, and one of those additional complexities is printing. And I think the last number I heard was that at a minimum 30% of our customers that purchase our software do it to solve the use case of simplifying printing within a VDI environment. Now, with that said, I'll kick it back over to my sidekick, Eric, who can explain what that means in greater technical detail.
Sure. So kind of at its highest level, we support both session printing and then also the auto creation or redirection of printers as well. So for an organization, they can kind of just pick the flavor of how they need to print, where the bulk of the spooling is going to take place, and we can adapt to that. Really, for us, what matters is where does our client agent sit? That's the first question that I would have. So are we dealing with like 0 clients, thin clients, fat clients, thick clients? How are they going to be doing this? And then from there, we can adapt. What we do is we support the distribution of those printers. And again, it comes back to that question about driver management. From there, we're just going to be applying different policies that will allow you to either successfully auto-create those printers or do session printing. And we're getting rid of some of the challenges that you typically see in a Citrix infrastructure from a printing perspective. So first and foremost, you think about WAN traffic, right? If you've got a print server, whether it's at the data center or it's a distributed model from a print server perspective, you're going to incur extra WAN traffic as opposed to if you did not have that print server there, right? There's just always going to be an extra step in the chain. And whenever we have that, we incur challenges with latency. So for us, one of the first things that we do is pull out that print server, and you're going to see improvement in the latency that you have in a Citrix print infrastructure just by pulling that out. And then you're also getting rid of the point of failure, right? Then we start talking about things like, what feeds into that whole chain of what the help desk is doing. One of the challenges that they're going to see typically is challenges with how many layers they have to create like proximity printers. When scripts are a challenge, making like longer login times, things like that happen. With us, we can pull those out of it, right? Because we're getting rid of the scripting or the GPO setup to push that printer in the first place. And we're minimizing some of the need for challenges in a policy that you've created to push out a proximity printer or something. So we kind of get rid of those, improve that end user experience. And then I would say kind of the last step is, again, that driver management side where when you have spooler crashes in Citrix and challenges related to that, a lot of times it's a rogue driver that's creating that issue. With us, you're not going to have that rogue driver challenge. We're going to define those policies for which driver is to be used where, whether it's the Citrix UPD or whether it's, like a discrete driver for a specific manufacturer. We can kind of design that and just make that a simpler experience overall.
Very good, very good. And for iGel, do you any added value for the iGel endpoint beyond everything else we've already chatted about?
With iGel, it couldn't be easier to utilize PrinterLogic. We actually have right there embedded in the UMS the ability to create a PrinterLogic profile, and you're literally going to enter the URL that you want it to point to and an activation code. Once you've created that, your iGel Thin clients already have the PrinterLogic client agent embedded in that operating system. So it's ready to go as soon as you tell it where to point to and you activate the licenses with us. Literally could not be easier to start utilizing Printer Cloud with iGel.
Very cool. Very cool. And you mentioned the cloud services service earlier. Can you talk a bit more about that in the sense of how somebody would get started, the difference in maybe cost or anything else that's specific to the cloud versus doing it on-prem?
Yeah. So as far as the cloud is concerned, there's really not a lot of startup requirements for those. No real recs to worry about. It's hosted in the cloud, so a customer can go through their partner of choice. We can spin up a cloud instance for them very easily. It takes about 5 minutes for them to activate. And basically, you're just choosing the URL that you want. You're setting a license count requirement, just entering a little information. And once that's built in about 5 minutes, then you can go through that process of collecting that information like we talked about, whether it's through your print server, through a network scan. It will pick up all those printers. And really all it's doing is it's communicating over port 443 down to those client agents. There's a little OAuth token request process that happens where that client will need to have that OAuth token so it knows from the user's workstation that workstation is authorized to communicate with that specific instance of Printer Cloud. So really, again, it's just back to the same thing. Collect your printers, push out the clients, have the client do its thing. Remember, it just operates silently in the background and picks up that information and does its conversions. And then you're in a PrinterLogic environment using Printer Cloud. So it's really simple when you think about it. So let me just make a couple points here that I think are very relevant for anybody that's considering a cloud-based solution. Now, I already mentioned this, but again, your jobs, they're not going to the cloud, right? Because we're not a print server. It's still direct IP printing. So you don't have to worry about, oh, my jobs are leaving my infrastructure. They're going out over the internet, over the cloud and spooling somewhere. That's not at all what's happening. We're doing direct IP printing inside of your environment. The administrator console is what exists in the AWS cloud. And we're pushing down those configurations over port 443 down to those clients to tell it, what behaviors to do, what policies to apply, what printers to deploy. From there, like I said, you could lose internet. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to interject. You're making an incredibly astute and important point, Eric. Doug, you mentioned you're in Berlin at the moment. One of the things that helped us with GDPR compliance is to be able to demonstrate that we actually don't send any information about a print job to the cloud. We're just sending basic elements of metadata to be able to report, but the initiation of the job, the spooling, the ultimate printing of the job stays local. And you wouldn't believe how many customers have come up to us at our shows, and they'll see our sign that says eliminate print servers, and they'll either say, that's impossible, you can't do that, or I've already done that. And if you dig a little bit deeper, what they're saying is that I've put my print servers in the cloud as virtual machines. And so they're basically sending jobs off network. And that goes counter to our philosophy in terms of how printing infrastructure should be deployed and managed. But yeah, so jobs always stay local, whether you're using our printer cloud solution, which is, a highly scalable, multi-tenanted, AWS or platform within AWS, or if you're installing a printer installer into any of the major cloud platforms as an individual instance, it's still simply just a management platform that allows drivers and profiles to be deployed so jobs can stay local. Sorry, Eric, for the interruption.
No, that's okay. I think that was a really good point about just how accurately it is that we're not pushing data up across, the internet with your jobs and things like that. So that's a great point. We do provide a reporting suite that gives you some insight, but again, like Garrett said, it's just metadata. So, getting back to that, we're still offering you like the features of obviously centralized management, driver management. We'll do the queue management, SNMP monitoring, pull printing, mobile printing, all that kind of stuff is still available. So we see full feature parity from our on-prem product to our cloud product. Again, it just kind of comes down to the appetite of that customer. We have a lot of federal customers that prefer the on-prem product, and we seem to see a lot of traction in the SMB market for this cloud-based product as they start to attach to different, cloud-based initiatives. We're a company that can be paired with that initiative because we can actually give them really the only true cloud printing solution.
Makes sense. Can I print from my iPhone in the coffee shop to my printer in my house or my office?
And we do actually have an application for your mobile devices that allows you to use those for like a full print scenario or a mobile print scenario as well. It can function as a release point as long as you've got access to that administrator console and you can authenticate to it. We do require Active Directory right now for the authentication. So provided that those kind of things fall into place, then yeah, we are able to deliver a few different mobile options with just kind of depending on the flavor that the organization wants to adopt.
So there's a lot of printing solutions on the market. Of course, you've talked about the Print Server Way. There's other guys out there, a lot of them. Why should I care about what PrinterLogic is doing versus what everyone else is saying and has been doing?
I'll start with this one, Doug. Either you have organizations looking at it from a print management perspective, so their focus is limiting users' behavior in order to reduce printing, or managing the devices themselves. And when I say devices, I mean the printers, the multifunction printers, and those types of devices. Or you have organizations that are focused around a universal driver. Our approach is let's take it from an infrastructure perspective and do everything we can to get rid of that print server. But also, Eric alluded to this earlier. Let's make sure that end users can get the full benefit of the MFPs or the MFGs that they've invested in. So while we do support universal drivers, we also, more importantly, support all of the myriad native drivers that are out there that allow end users to get the full capability out of their investments that they've made.
Okay, guys, this sounds great. So, neat stuff. I have one more question I almost always ask unless I forget, and I almost forgot this time. But that being said, this is all fine and dandy, but what can we expect from you guys in the future? Where are you going with this technology? What's more to be done, I guess?
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I'll take this one. Well, it is our vision to be recognized as the leader in the category of serverless printing infrastructure, because that has a huge material impact in a positive way on our customers, how they manage their printing. We also see that printing is part of business processes, and there's going to be an evolution of moving from paper business processes to digital business processes. And the more that we can help organizations automate business processes and make them more digitized, I think we're very well positioned to do that. I think the iteration that we're part of right now is simplifying the infrastructure required to manage printing across heterogeneous printing environments and also heterogeneous endpoint environments. We're agnostic across both of those areas. We also aim to be agnostic across the identity management play, which gives our customers choice from all three areas. But ultimately, as customers evolve their business processes into the future, we think that we can simplify the infrastructure required to do workflow and business process, which today requires on-premise servers in many cases. So while we're focused on serverless printing infrastructure, you might see us one day focus on serverless business process infrastructure. And that's an exciting realm for us to get into in the future.
What else do I say? You guys, I love what you guys are doing. I've heard a lot of great things about what you guys are doing from Agile customers and just people in general that have been educated on what you guys are doing. So I'm looking for, I was looking forward to bringing you on the show and having you share it with our audience. And hopefully they're interested and want to learn more. And if they do want to learn more, what do they need to do?
So as far as what anybody who's interested in can do next, you can come in to printercloud.com or printerlogic.com and learn a little bit more about us. We have a lot of great white papers and technical information that you can absorb as you start to evaluate our solution for your organization. And then I would say you can reach out to us. We can help you through whatever partner you choose to go through. We can set up a free proof of concept for you and let you actually evaluate the software from a hands-on perspective. And you can get pricing from that partner that you choose to buy your software through. And that's probably the next steps for us to go through.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much. If there's anything we forgot, please, speak up now or forever hold your peace. But if not, thank you so much. I've truly enjoyed learning more about you, and it's been a pleasure to work with you guys in the past also. So not only do these guys make a great solution, but they're fun people if you haven't figured that out. So absolutely. Guys, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks.
Hey.
Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. As always, I want to thank my guests, the folks from PrinterLogic, all three of the guys. They did a great job, and they're just great guys, fun to be around, and have a stellar solution. So definitely check them out. Head over to printerlogic.com, or if you see them at a conference, definitely stop by their booth and check out what these guys are doing. Very neat stuff. Download and play with it. Very, very neat stuff. On that note, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining, for listening, for supporting, and just for being you, I guess. And what else do I say? But thank you for listening to DABCC Radio. And have a great day, all. Thanks, everybody.
CC?
DABC.
Say it again. DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again? DABCC.
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.